So, have either of you guys ever had I think it just started. I'll try that again. So, have either of you guys ever had such a bad meet you hired a coach the next day?
Hmm. Been pretty close actually. Pretty close. Had preps that have gone pretty bad, but yeah, I can
I
see where you're coming
definitely did.
from.
Yeah, I definitely did. I went 6 for 9 over the weekend at Provs. I lost to Nicholas Para,
Good man.
which has never happened before. I lost to my younger brother. My younger brother of 6 years beat me in a powerlifting meet.
Oof,
So in
that's
my
tough. Are you
in my
proud or
greatest moment
disappointed?
of shame, I reached out to Powell, Agata's coach, to get coaching. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So losing to your brother, are you more proud or disappointed?
Oh, it's definitely a mix of emotions. I'm proud of the day
Yeah.
he had, but very, very disappointed in the day I have, which I should
Mm,
caveat with like my best total's 675 kilos. I feel like I'm good for much more, but I feel like that's just every competitor feels like they're good for much more. I totaled 17 and a half kilos less than that, missing all of my thirds. And the third squat and the third deadlift were like close calls on things. The judges made good calls. I'm not like trying to call out the judges and be like, I got robbed or whatever, but they were close, right? They were 50-50 coin flips that could have gone in my favor, but didn't.
yeah.
And then the third bench was probably like the weirdest one of like I took a conservative number, and with how my second moved, I thought I was good for 2.5 kilos more and I was going to smoke the 140 I loaded. And for some reason, just like wasn't strong enough for it, which
Mm,
did not expect at all. And then yeah, deadlift, the bar just started to like roll in my hands. It's like I got the down command and then the bar started to roll, but just with how the refs saw it, it looked like it started to roll before I got the down command. So it's just like one of those
interesting.
yeah, just one of those tough calls where it's like the head judge that gave the down command thought it was good, but the two side judges didn't and ended up being two reds and with no
Mm,
jury to like review that or whatever. You can't really
yeah.
get it
Mhm.
overturned. Same with like squat, like I got like two reds. It was really close. My handler, who is a ref himself and tends to be pretty like stringent on depth, says that he probably would have given it to me. And if there's a jury, he probably could have got it overturned at the jury. But again, with no jury, it's just like have to live with the calls you kind of get on the day. So if there, either of those calls go in my favor and I don't lose to my brother, and I feel like that's why I'm disappointed. But then also to put some of the onus on me, like I had like a very, very bad prep. And to lead it back to what I was saying about the coaching, it was very eye opening for me in that I was trying this period of self coaching. And I feel like some people can do pretty good with self coaching. But what I found for me is that without that person in my corner, without that person I'm accountable to, I just found myself on a more frequent basis being a little bit looser with my training standards. And I think that that really, really punished me on meet day.
Yeah, it's like you're
Yeah.
thinking it's kinda cliche, but you're constantly thinking, "It'll be there on meet day. It'll
Yeah,
be good. I'll
yeah.
pause it on meet day. I'll pause it
Mhm.
once we're 3 weeks out," but doesn't
It's almost
always end up
never.
that way, and especially
Yeah.
once you start getting heavy in the training, it's like, "Well, I can't pause it good now. It's heavy." So
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, my bench pauses were pretty decent in training, like, that wasn't horrible. It was definitely squat depth, and it's
yeah,
this, like, weird thing too where it's like, even if I have, like, a coach that, like, legit isn't responding to me sending the videos, which they should be, right? But let's just say they aren't. Just the fact that I'm sending it to a coach forces me to, want to, like, jump through those hoops to, like, impress them more in a way or,
yeah.
like, want to execute better. Like, even, like, CJ pointed out the fact when we were having a conversation that, like, I was posting all of my lifts on social media, but I just strictly don't give a shit what anybody on social media has to say. Like, I post my lifts there for me and to have like a log and just like have content to post more than I do for like, caring what people think if people are calling me out for my squats being high or whatever, right? But if I'm sending it to a coach, it's like I am like accountable and it almost feels like I'm a representation of them, and representing something more than myself tends to bring the
Mhm.
best out of me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
actually
definitely.
use that strategy a few times just when we're trying to change technique or something like that, or hit depth more. I'll get my clients to film their warm-ups.
Yeah.
And that's so they can look at it, but it's also like, okay, I'm filming this, I'm gonna send it to Arshia, he's gonna be looking. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to make it look a lot better instead of just going through the motions on the warm-up. So there's actually a lot of merit there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. The accountability side, the buy-in side, I think even just the
Yeah.
problem-solving side, like, kinda like you were saying, like, it'll be there on meet day, like, I had some, like, squats that were, like, high in training, but I'm like, "Oh, like, I just need to sync it more." Like, it'll be there on meet day, like, I just need to do better. But, like, 1 month out, a little less than 1 month out, I put, like, my squat video in the Strength Now Discord, which, like, buying a Strength Now program, you're not getting coaching, but you are getting a little bit of support and advice from the coaches. And Sean had pointed out the fact he's like, your squat is like really, really hingy. It's going to like be hard to hit depth like that. So to me, I was like, okay, like that's kind of weird because I'm like, my squat never used to be that hingy. I'm like, what did I change? And I had like an adductor injury that over time, I think to compensate for it and just to like try to protect my adductor, I like slowly like widened my stance a little bit on squats just because it would limit my depth. And then same, like I had some like wrist pain for a while on bench, or sorry, on squats. And over time, I just like widened my hands a little bit, and that led to the bar getting a little bit lower on my back, which also led to me getting hingier. So I changed both of those things where I moved my stance in just like a little bit, and I moved my hands in a little bit to get the bar a little higher on my back. And that fixed my depth, but I think it was like one of those things where it's like too little, too late, where like I only had like I think it was 6 or 7 squat sessions practicing that going into meet day,
Mhm.
opposed to like if I had 3 months, it would have been, triple that amount of like squat sessions going into it to get comfortable with that form. And I think the reality is like even though that form allowed me to hit depth, it didn't feel strong. But had I not have changed the form, I wouldn't have been able to hit depth, even though I would have felt stronger. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, today we are interviewing Arshia about equipped lifting to start the day, or as we are coining it, raw lifters ask stupid equipped questions. So this will be fun. And then after that, we're going to do a little bit of a recap on provs. So if anybody is listening to this that listened to the preview show and wants to hear kind of the end results of some of the things we talked about, we will be doing that after we ask Arshia some equipped questions. So, CJ, do you want to kick Arshia off with our first raw lifter ask stupid equipped questions today?
Hit me.
Sure thing. How can someone get into equipped lifting?
Did you steal
Yeah,
my question?
yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah. I definitely stole your question.
um I'll go
You're
ahead and
good. I
answer
got plenty.
it. So great question, CJ.
Thanks,
Um,
Max.
I wish I would have thought of it.
yeah. That's actually the biggest barrier to entry, I would say, getting into it because nobody wants to try equip lifting or try lifting in general and drop like over a grand just to see if it's even something they like. Or you might drop that money and the fitment is off. So I think that's the biggest barrier to entry. Um, the best way to get into it is just talk to people that do it. Um, it could be hard just because it's a niche within a niche, right? Powerlifting's already a niche sport, and then you get even more into it, and then there's the equipped lifters. So try to find a gym. Try to, if you don't have a gym around you, I know in Canada the community is pretty tight, and I always help out people if they want to borrow equipment or anything like that. You're more than welcome to message me. You can message me. We can add you to our group chat with. We have lifters in there that buy and sell, and I'm sure if you wanted to borrow some stuff, there's probably people in there that are down to let you borrow equipment. But if you're in Calgary, you're more than welcome to message me. I know Bryce has some equipment over at Calgary Barbell with Zaid and those guys, and we got between us, we got tons of gear you can try out. But I would say that's the best way to do it is message someone, try the gear, and then see if you like it, see what size you need, see what style you need. There's so many different styles, and you have to try it first. Try it for free first before you buy one, because it's just too much to choose from, and they cost so much money. Like a super katana nowadays is going for $400 for a shirt, and if you get the wrong size or you don't like it, it's too aggressive for you, we're looking at, almost $1,000 to try out 2 shirts. So
Yeah.
reach
A
out to someone.
little bit of a follow-up question there. As you were talking, it made me think of like if somebody's listening to this and they're just like, what the heck is equipped lifting? Like, what's the difference between like powerlifting and equipped lifting? Could you just like really break it down and explain like what is equipped lifting?
So equip lifting is powerlifting. Powerlifting is just exercising. I'm just kidding. Equip lifting is basically the definitions on it. It's using equipment to lift more weight. It's using ply material equipment. It's like tight suits and knee wraps in order to lift more weight. It's a different category within powerlifting, and everybody lifts to the same rules. So everybody's going to be wearing equipment. It's not cheating, as some people say, but yeah, it's a different side of the sport, which it's quite niche. It's I think the first Raw World Championships was in 2012. So prior to Raw powerlifting, it was all equipped. You had no other choice. If you didn't want to lift equipped, you were at a disadvantage. So yeah, it's been around for a very long time.
Yeah, this actually really intrigues me, and maybe you don't know the answer to some of this, and that's okay. You can kind of say pass because this is just coming to me. I didn't prepare you for this, but like, what is some of the history of equipped lifting? Like, how did it start, if you know that?
Yeah.
And also, like you mentioned, like the plies of the equipment. What is like the equipment made of, and what's the difference between like, say, like a squat suit and just like a regular singlet?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll answer your first question first, how it started. It first started with raw powerlifting. This is just from what I remember. I might be off here and there, but powerlifting started raw. People started to wear tighter equipment. And I think it was Inzer. They made a jean type of singlet. And it got tighter. It got tighter. They made the jean style. People were lifting in jean material. And then they made the ply material, which was people were saying they can lift more weight in it and things like that. They used knee wraps, and from there it just started to progressively get tighter. The equipment got better, and yeah, we got into equipped powerlifting. But it wasn't like it was just powerlifting. It wasn't equipped powerlifting. Powerlifters started wearing tighter suits, and that turned into that was just powerlifting. And then we had powerlifting, raw powerlifting started in 2012, and that's when we got the separation of equipped and raw. The different types of materials. So there is different types of materials, but for our federation, the International Powerlifting Federation, we can only use the ply material. I know different federations use bands. It's like more of a band material. It's more like a slingshot. But yeah, for us, it's good old single ply.
Sweet. Yeah. Um, do you feel like that barrier to entry with the equipment is a reason why we don't see more growth in that side of powerlifting?
Oh, absolutely. I think the the barrier the barrier to entry that we don't have in raw powerlifting is the reason why powerlifting is growing.
Hmm.
Somebody can go get a Good Life membership and start training for powerlifting. And the cool thing about powerlifting is our training is very specific to the way we compete. So they can just start doing the thing immediately. So not only do I think that's the biggest barrier to entry, but I think powerlifting is growing because we don't have that barrier to entry due to the raw division. People can just get into it. All you need is a singlet and deadlift socks, and then you can go compete. So, yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So powerlifting starts. Powerlifting is raw. Nobody's wearing any equipment. And over time, people start wearing more and more in equipment. And that's just raw, or that's just powerlifting.
Yeah.
Um, the equipment's getting tighter, it's getting more layers, it's getting more contentious. And we hit this point where powerlifting divides into more divisions. We now have a raw division and we have an equipped division in the federation we compete in, the IPF. We have raw and single ply. In other divisions, they have raw, single ply, raw with wraps,
Yeah.
multiply, and now there's multiply unlimited where the equipment's just getting like more and more crazy.
That's
So
the bands. The unlimited division is the bands, I believe.
bands is
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, that's where the bands come in. That's where you're
Yeah.
seeing some of the crazy like 1,000 pound bench presses come in is in
Yeah.
the unlimited division. Um, okay, so we've gotten to this point with powerlifting where we have all of these different divisions, and we've seen this like increase in the popularity of raw. And just as kind of a default, we've seen kind of a decrease in the popularity of equipped lifting over time. Now, in my opinion, I think we are going to have like a resurgence, and I can give some of my thoughts on why that I think that is. However, in your opinion, what do you think needs to be done to grow the equipped lifting side of powerlifting and to get more people into it?
Um, I think like it's naturally going to happen. I think the bigger the sport gets, the more people we're gonna have, and more people are gonna be like, "Oh, what's this division? Oh, maybe I can set a record in this one." The totals to go to nationals is getting so high now that maybe some people are like, "Okay, I can go to nationals equipped, or I have a shot of going to worlds equipped." So it just opens up all these doors. But again, the barrier to entry is the gear. You need to get gear that fits, and then it's the commitment that you need to have to the training. It's 3 4 hour sessions of squatting and benching, and not a lot of people have that. And then you got to get all the people together on Saturdays, and you know somebody wraps you, you get people to spot you, and the handoffs and all that. It's just the commitment to the training is just it's a lot. So I think naturally more people are going to get into it as the sport grows, but um, raw training is just it's a lot easier to fit in with your regular schedule. But for me personally, that's why I love equipped. It's just like it's so there's just so much of a focus on perfecting your craft, and there's so many little things you can do, and twist the collar here, or wet the t-shirt, or wet the bench shirt, and things like that. But I think it'll naturally start to grow. More people getting into the sports. The raw totals are just getting crazy, and just maybe some people are getting burnt out of raw lifting, and they want to try something new. They see this side of it. And yeah, I think it's just going to have that domino effect.
Yeah, definitely. So another note that, you know, shoots up in my mind when you say that is I think in the US they actually have um, powerlifting in a lot of high schools or universities, and it's all equipped lifting from what I've seen. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's a pretty good way to actually help grow the sport of equipped lifting, right? Or the side of equipped lifting as well. And I feel like, you know, other countries should probably be adopting something similar to that. I think it would be really cool to see, you know, like we don't have that in Canada, right? And even just raw powerlifting as well, we don't see any, you know, more curriculum out there within like the school systems or anything like that. So I feel like that would be a really big opportunity to grow not only equip lifting, but powerlifting in general, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's just like I think for powerlifting, that's low-hanging fruit.
Hmm.
Start early, get kids into the sport and just show them what it is. It doesn't have to be a thing that they're super serious about, but at least let them know it exists. Hey, there's this sport out here. We squat, bench, and deadlift. It's really cool. Try it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just show it to them. Have it be a part of gym for maybe a month, and get actual powerlifting coaches in there to show you how to do the movements, because it's quite different than what you might do for sport specific exercises. You don't want your I'm speaking generally, but you don't want your regular gym teacher to show you how to do sumo deadlift or something like that. Get a
Mhm.
powerlifting coach in there.
Yeah. Unless it's Angelo Fortino. I think
Yeah,
he's
I know.
a
I'm
I
speaking
think
generally for sure.
yeah,
Like my gym teacher got me into powerlifting, and he was a he was a good power lifter, so I'm speaking
yeah,
generally.
yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely
yeah.
some out there. I do think you kind of hit on my point too with the growth of equipped lifting. I've had some conversations with some lifters in the past few months here where Raw has just gotten so competitive, but they really want to go to Worlds. They want to earn that Team Canada singlet, and they see that space in the equipped lifting side of things, and they want to move into it, which I think on the surface level, like, seems like a bad thing, like, some people are running away from competition, but at the end of the day, it's going to create more competition in the equipped side of things because more and more people are gonna start to do that, and we're gonna see kind of the growth of both sides of the sport. So I think that that totally hits on that. Now, another kind of question that I had here as I was listening to you talk. Can you talk about the importance of training partners for equipped lifting? And like I think the importance of training partners for raw lifting is something that's kind of universal of like they hype you up and whatnot. But
Yeah,
with equipped lifting, it's something where it's like if you don't have good training partners, you strictly can't do it. So can you speak on,
yeah,
like, what is the role of a training partner
yeah,
for equipped lifters?
yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna touch on a point that you said earlier. Also, like it's not running away from competition. The thing that I really like about Equipped and what got me into it is, again, it's the skill aspect of it. You can go out there, miss a lift twice, and then come back and get it on a third. It's so skill dependent. And it's like in Raw, if you miss a bench press off your chest, you're probably not going to get it again. Like it's just too heavy. But there's so many things you can do in equipment, and just that skill and that technical mastery that you can get out of it plays such a bigger factor. Like if you're efficient in the equipment versus somebody that's not, versus somebody that's new, you're going to be better than them at it. And it's not going to be like one of those things where this freak athlete at 19 years old comes in and just outbenches you out of nowhere. But if you've been in the bench shirt for 10 years and you get this kid that he might be stronger than you in raw, but he's not outbenching you in the shirt because he doesn't have that technical mastery. He doesn't have that. He doesn't understand the groove of the shirt. So I really, really like that skill aspect of it and how it's not just strength. And of course, raw, you need technique as well. We all know that. I'm not saying that, but the technical aspect is just so much more amplified in equipment where it's just that's why I fell in love with it. You hit a bench press and it's just like, damn, that stroke was like, it felt like nothing. It felt like air. And then you chase that same press for over and over every time. And then you hit it again. You're like, oh yeah, I did this. The collar was sitting a little bit lower. That's why I pressed it. I press it out instead of back more. So just tiny little things like that just make the gears in your head drive. And if you're crazy about the sport like me, it just makes you just think about it all the time. But training partners. Training partners are definitely super important because one, they keep you safe. Safety is the biggest thing in equipped. Even I would say have people spot you, even if it's something that you would squat, let's say raw, get at least 3 spotters in there. At the very minimum, have people spot the side because anything can happen. Equipment, your knees are wrapped, your movement is restricted. So have people that are competent in spotting. They know how to spot. And then once we get deeper into it, is they got to know how to put the equipment on. So for something like a bench shirt, they got to know how the bench shirt goes on. They need to understand how it should feel. You're not just putting it on it like a t-shirt. The sleeves need to sit a certain way. The collar needs to be to where you like it, to how aggressive you like it. Just they need to know how that shirt needs to sit because more often than not, especially at a high level, you're not putting the shirt on yourself. You're getting a hand with it. So you should at the very minimum know how to talk someone through doing it, and they should know how to do it. And then there's the little things like handoffs. Of course, it's nice to have a person that knows how to do a handoff, but once you compete, you might not get that. So it is what it is. But yeah, like they think, and they should be ready to be there with you for like at least 2 hours to spot you. And it's hard to find someone that's down to spot and wrap knees and give handoffs for 2 hours, 2 to 3 times a week. So yeah, that community is very important and keeping you safe and making sure your training's going well.
Equipped lifting really does become kind of like a team sport.
Oh yeah.
Also, to back up on like the technical side of things too, I've heard equipped lifting compared to like NASCAR, where, you know, like you said, technique is important with raw lifting as well. Just like, you have to know how to drive a car to drive any car, but the faster that car goes, the more it matters. And I feel like the equipment kind of adds like a similar level to like lifting that like NASCAR you know adds to driving in the way that like the weights are heavier and there's more room for error where the technical side just matters so much more. So it's kind of cool. And also, with the like running away from competition thing, I don't believe that, but I do know that some people kind of look at it that way when people make that like switch from raw into equipped because it's quote unquote less competitive. At the same time, I think it becomes one of those things where it's like there's so many more learning curves to it that anybody makes that switch has to learn to fall in love with it to
Yeah.
really stay with it. Also on the handoff side of things, you made me think of like a story of when I was like working out with an equipped crew in Springfield, Missouri, and this was not like IPF like single ply equipped lifting, but they were very frequently allowed to bring their own handoff people to the meets with them, and they were
Oh yeah.
allowed 3-person handoff. So it was very interesting. Like
We're also
having
allowed in the
person-
IPF.
What?
We're also allowed that.
Are you?
Nobody just
Okay.
nobody asks for it though.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. See,
Yeah.
learning new things. But it was the craziest thing being like asked to be part of like a 3-person handoff crew and like having like the main handoff person do more than just a handoff. They were like counting and like timing up, and like all 3 people had to be in sync to get that person into a safe start position so that they could bench the weight they were going to bench. It was kind of a surreal experience for me, honestly. So it's kind of cool. But that brings me into my next question of why is slingshot bench not like shirted benching?
That's a good question. That's like so many people ask this like every time when you talk about bench shirts. They're like, "Oh, is it like the slingshot thing you put on?" I think the biggest thing it just comes down to the resistance, really, because the slingshot's just not as resistant as ply material. It's band material, so you're able to bench more like you would raw. There's more give, and you really can go the path of least resistance. But with ply material, single ply in a bench shirt, it's not as stretchy. So it almost has it's a different technique that you almost have to do with the bench shirt. But some people can get away with benching raw, but generally speaking, most people have to adapt to benching with the ply material. But yeah, the slingshot you basically toss it on. There's no learning curve. Sorry, my monitor just came on super bright up here. There's no learning curve really, and you just put it on and you bench. It's pretty easy to do. It's a good way to see if it's something you like, maybe, but be prepared for it to be nothing like the bench shirt.
What I'm
Yeah,
hearing
definitely.
is that we should throw out all of the slingshots.
No, no, no. Don't throw away your slingshots. I actually like using the slingshot for equipped training. I think it's a good tool to have for equipped training. I like the RAM more, unless Slingshot wants to sponsor me. But
I'm in the market.
I personally use the RAM more just because it fits better. It fits more like a shirt would. You don't have to play around with that flap going over your neck and stuff like that. But I like it for volume to bridge the gap from going it from raw into equipped, especially for somebody like me. I get like almost 100 kilos out of a bench shirt, so it's very taxing on my nervous system to go from straight from raw training into equipped. I'm going to be toast for a while if I don't bridge that gap with a slingshot or a ram.
Yeah. I think that's a good segue into my next question, where how does equipped programming differ from raw?
Yeah. The biggest thing is going to be the cycles of training. So we're going to be more in these cycles that are calculated because generally speaking, again, most people aren't going to be able to lift an equipment year round. So we have to treat that dose of equipment very it's almost like I don't know how to explain it, but it's it's a it's almost like a lethal dose that we're injecting into the training,
Mhm.
right? So we have to be careful where we're injecting that dose of equipment because you can deal with CNS issues, frying out, your equipment can get too loose. There's only so many times you can be in it during the week. So we really have to be careful where we're plugging in that stimulus of equipment. I think that's the biggest thing versus as raw, you're like, yeah, we train. If you get too fatigued, we'll take a deload. You'll be good.
Yeah.
But with equipment, it's just there's so much more nuance to it. Like you have your training shirt, you might have a competition shirt, and all these things play into they're different kits in your toolbox that you can use. And as a coach, I think that's really cool because we can plug in the training shirt here and we can stagger training shirt weeks and things like that. But you really have to be careful with where you're plugging in that stimulus of shirted training. And then the other thing, obviously, is rep work. You're not going to be able to do sets of, I mean, some people do, but again,
Mhm.
generally, you're not going to be able to do sets of like 5+ in a bench shirt and touch. So you're going to have to get a little bit more creative with see how athletes respond, see how you can manage that with the equipment. If they need more stimulus, how are you going to manage that? Are you going to put more sets in? Are they going to be able to go in the shirt twice a week? Most likely not. Most people can't do that. And then how is their shirt going to respond to this? Like, are they going to need a new shirt in 3 months just because we used it for the whole year? And then are we going to be able to break that shirt in time for equipment or in time for a competition? So there's just so much more to think about, I think. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's what makes it cool.
Yeah. And I think during our little experiment when we were programming for Equipped as well, it became a lot more variables to think about. Um, Trying to make sure that we're not getting overly fatigued all of a sudden, right? And there was a lot more element of periodization, which I think
Yeah.
differed a lot more from Raw. There was a lot more um, consideration for that periodization because you know we can only handle so much, like you're saying, with that lethal dosage. That if we do too much, we're going to be cooked for weeks on weeks on weeks, right?
Yeah.
um so yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And from a coaching perspective, I think it's a really really fun case to be able to coach equip lifters because there's so many variables. And for someone like me, where my mind loves that sort of thing and loves lots of different moving parts at the same time, um trying to make sense of it is almost like a huge chess game or something, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I find it very satisfying when you know try to work through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like after a while, when you're worked with equipped lifters long enough, and it's just fun. It's like
Yeah.
you got all these things you can work with, and it's just cool. And if you're super nerdy like us, I guess you would really like it.
Yeah, it's like you're having your raw coaching toolkit, and it's just super amped up with so many different tools,
Yeah,
right?
it's like on a
Yeah,
modded
it
server, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think too, like it probably promotes a lot of creative problem solving. I think in Raw, we aren't met with nearly as many like potential problems that can come up with Equipped.
Yeah.
And I think it is like a really good case for like to coach equipped lifting and vice versa, the trickle down into like raw like coaching from being an equipped coach is that you do learn a lot more creative problem solving because you're constantly being like brought up with these like problems of like, oh, well, my like bench shirt doesn't fit today. So you have to have like these different tools in your toolbox to deal with all of these different problems or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think it makes it really interesting and
Oh,
it really
absolutely.
speaks to
Yeah.
yeah.
A case that I'll just throw out, and it's one of my clients. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me talking about it. But we were going into a competition. He's been dealing with some shoulder issues just from training age and lifting hundreds of pounds on bench press. But it's how do we manage competing both in raw and equipped? And it's just cool having to go through that, manage the fatigue, manage like he has to show up on that equip session, but he also needs to compete raw. So just figuring out that exposure timing for both of them is just it's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
So another question that I think segues well off of that is I think we've seen a lot of like the world's best raw powerlifters used to compete equipped. So we see like Perkins used to do equipped lifting back in like high school and college. We see Kiel obviously now like the king of the 66 doing absolutely crazy things in the class. He also has done a lot of equipped lifting. Now, I don't think every raw lifter needs to go through an equipped phase, but with that said, what do you think are some lessons that come from being an equipped lifter that transfer over to going back to raw? Has there been some cases where you've coached a lifter, they maybe started off raw because I feel like most people do, they've gone equipped and then they've gone back into raw afterwards and you saw them become a better lifter because of some of these lessons they learned from the equipped side?
Sure. Yeah. I think the biggest lesson is just that technical mastery. I think when we often see a lot of those ex equip guys go into raw, their technique is just on point. Um, that's the biggest thing. Like I think of like somebody like Yuri Belkin from back in the day. His technique was just on point every lift. And I would like to think a lot of that was from equipment because you really can't get out of position when we're dealing with like 150%. If you misgroove that, it's done. Like if you go back a little bit over your face, you're not going to get it. So it has to be in the groove. I would say personally, I think the biggest thing is just that attention to detail and technical mastery. Is there an aspect of you actually getting stronger due to lifting more weight with supportive equipment? I don't know. Um, I didn't feel it when I was lifting equipped, but I know some people say they do. They're like, yeah, the weight just feels a lot better. It feels lighter. I know for me, like when I was bench pressing in equipment, a lot of times, or even with squats, it would feel light on my back, but out of the hole, it was the same. I don't know if I actually got stronger. My
Mhm.
lockout strength got better because I trained it a lot more. Like anything, like halfway off my chest, I can lock out. But I don't know if I actually got stronger due to the equipment. Um, yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know.
I've also heard a lot of those guys talk about the psychological thing. Like you said, it didn't
Oh yeah,
necessarily make them stronger, but, walking out 700 pounds on squats equipped or whatever, for example, and you still have to walk it out. You still have to pick it up off the
oh yeah,
rack and you still have to walk it
mhm,
out. And even if the equipment helps you squat it, it doesn't help you pick it up off the rack and walk it
yeah,
out. And just feeling that weight on your back when they go back to the raw lifting and they're lifting less load, there's less of like a psychological like fear element of having those weights on their back or in bench press having those weights in their hands. Obviously, deadlift, you kind of just have to pick it off the floor however you have to pick it off
yeah,
the floor, and deadlift suits do a little bit less,
yeah.
than squat suits and bench shirts, but, um, yeah, so I think that can be an
Yeah,
element as well.
for sure. The mentality aspect of it is like we can go on about that. And you might even have to be a little bit crazy to do equipped, I think,
Mhm.
to
I I
to
think you do.
unwrap like
I
those
think you
types of weights.
100% do.
Yeah, and
I
to
listened to a
like
podcast
yeah,
with Greg Nuckolls back in the day, and this wasn't equipped per se, but it kind of falls along the same vein of like he just wanted to see how much weight he could bench press. And he kept putting it was before we had like slingshots. So he would take like the bands we have in the gym and put them into a figure eight and put them around his elbows. And he kept adding bands to his elbows until he could unrack. I think at the time he said it was 600 pounds. And he said the first time he ever felt fear lifting was when he unracked 600 pounds and he felt the bones in his forearms start to bend under the weight. And I would imagine that's probably like a fairly common experience with equipped benchers benching
That's the
like
rush.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I got into those
Yeah.
equipped lifting, is because I wanted to see how much weight I can lift. I don't really I don't care how we get there. If it's in the IPF and I can do it, I want to see how much I can lift. Like I want to bench the most amount of weight possible. Like if it's wearing a size 42 shirt, yeah, let's do it. Like I'm down. I just I want to lift the most amount of weight. So I totally see where he's getting from. And I think a lot of equipped lifters are the same boat. Like we just want to lift heavy. And
Yeah,
it,
and that like lack of fear element of like, the bones in my forearms are bending. Whatever. I think most people would freak out at that feeling, but
yeah, you shut
the
it off. You get really good at shutting it off. It's like you go into the void, I guess. Right? It's just you just channel. It's like a state of nothingness, and you do the thing, and it's like it's a weight. It's it could crush you, right? But you do it anyways, and you hit it in that perfect stroke where everything is in the groove, and it feels amazing after. Like the glory
yeah,
is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would imagine that rush would be super
Yeah.
cool. So,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
CJ, do you want to fire your next question or do you want me to go?
Yeah. So I think we talked a pretty good amount of um the equipped side of like programming. I wonder now though, as a raw coach, and you've been in the raw scene for forever, right? What kind of takeaways have you seen from the raw side going into equipped? Because I think we talk a lot about how different overloading techniques from the equipped side can come into play into the raw side. But what about the reverse, raw into the equipped side?
Yeah. I think we benefit a lot from like the simplicity of raw training and equipped also. Or else I have from a lot of cases. Like we don't need to get too crazy with our equipped training. Like we don't need to start doing bands and chains and uh, crazy board work and things like that just because we're in equipment. Um, we can it could be very competition like, and it could be very much so like your raw training, and it's just like another day you put the shirt on, and you might hover to around a two board, around the one board, and you just do some bench pressing but with a shirt on. I
Mhm.
think that's where I've benefited the most from raw training going into equipped, and especially for a lot of people that have been in equipment for a long time, is a majority of your training is going to be raw anyways. You have to be strong raw to be strong in equipment. Again, it's relative. Like some people might bench 200 kilos only, and bench like 350 in a shirt, but it's still strong. You still have to be strong. Like 200 kilos is a lot of weight. But yeah, um, I think just that simplicity aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that kind of segues nicely into the next question that I've been like itching to ask you since our last podcast, or the one that came out before this. Is you mentioned that you don't really like boards,
Yeah.
and I see boards used for a lot of equipped lifters. So I wanted to tee you up. Are boards underrated or overrated for
Oh,
equipped lifting?
all right. Okay, so boards, I'm more of a floater. I like floating benches. I'll just say it. Um, I think boards, if you use them too much, it's gonna end up being a crutch. Because I personally feel like it's the stimulus is a lot different than if you were to hover and press, but it's not to say it's not a good tool. You can use boards for again for different phases of training. before you're going for a touch. You can do some doubles, triples, even like rep work is a lot easier on boards. But I find the way you leverage the barbell against boards, it doesn't feel like how it would with a shirt on, or if you're air benching it, and the touch point becomes different also. So I'm a big fan of just airing it and then using boards as like a sense of where you should be to touch. Like if I say get around a two board, it's like, it's like this far off your chest, but just float it to that two board range. And then it just becomes, I find it becomes a lot easier when we're going for a touch, because the goal is to touch and press anyways, right? That's what we're doing in competition. So if we're floating, it's a lot more natural than where your touch point would be anyways. So I think, why not just float? Like if we're going for a touch, ultimately, you should be floating your top sets. Like if we're in competition, if it's my athlete, I wouldn't get them to go to like a three board, two board, one board, and then touch on the platform. I would just, go down to where you can, keep loading it, go lower, and then go touch, or touch one in the warm up room and then touch again on the platform. I just think it's a lot more natural. The touch point is a lot more similar to where it would be during that phase of descent if you were going to touch. And yeah, but I do think boards are a good tool if you're like bridging the gap, going into a a prep where you're going to be touching, like doing some triples, even sets of 4 or 5 maybe with the shirt on to boards. Sure, go for it. Helps with lockout strength, but I think floating is a lot more specific to touching. So that's why I'm a bigger fan.
Cool. That's all the questions I had. Did you have any more equipped questions for Shia, CJ?
Not really. Something I think that would be interesting to hear is, how well do you think technique transfers from equipped to raw, or raw to equipped?
Um, it's different. Like benching in a shirt versus raw is different. So some people are going to be better at benching in a shirt because of the way they bench raw, though. It's like I can look at some people and be like, yeah, this person in a shirt is going to bench big. It's just more, it's more, the groove might be similar to the way the shirt would allow you to touch better. Whereas if someone's like more flat back, closer grip, they're going to have to touch really low. It's going to be really awkward getting a touch in a bench shirt, but that transferability is definitely there. Same thing with squats. You can see it often. And just if you have an eye for it, you can be like, yeah, this person's going to be good in squat, suit, and knee wraps. But yeah, I always like to, like, if one of my clients is interested in it, I'll throw the idea out if I have gear and stuff they want to try. I think it's a good way to, you got to try it, see if you're going to be good at it, see if you like it. So yeah, if you got gear, lend it out to people, encourage people. Definitely message me on Instagram if you want to get into equip lifting. I'll come help out. I can mail you some gear, but yeah.
Sweet.
Well, thank you for agreeing to do this, because I think to this
Yeah,
point
for
of the
sure.
podcast, we've basically only talked about raw lifting because, that's the thing the three of us have in common. But I think
Yeah.
it is really important to shine some light onto the equipped lifting side of the sport, because it is part of the sport. So
Yeah.
thank you for agreeing to do this and helping us answer some stupid questions that us raw lifters don't know about.
Yeah, for sure.
The
And I don't
equipment.
think there was like those not stupid questions at all. I think it's what everybody's thinking, really, what most
Yeah.
raw people think.
Yeah.
So it's out there now.
Mhm.
And if we didn't talk about anything that you were thinking, message me, or the whole equip community is great. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm pretty sure if you message anybody that's into equipped, they'll help you out. The community is so tight knit. Like we drive to spot each other like across the city, and so yeah, message anyone really. I'll just say
Yeah.
it.
And to speak on that a little bit, I'm sure we will try to bring on some equipped guests in the future and talk about it more in that way. And
Yeah,
yes, if people do have questions that they don't feel like we answered today, shoot us a message, shoot a DM to the podcast, shoot a DM to Arshia, and we can definitely revisit this topic times in the future to answer like more
yeah,
questions. But
100%.
this was just us trying to get out the stupid questions we think that, like you said, that every raw lifter has that they don't necessarily know the answer to unless they know a equipped lifter like Arshia to answer some of these things. So hopefully this can be a resource for people that if they have some questions, they have some concerns, they don't know about the sport, but they want to learn about it to see if it's something they want to get into. This is a podcast that people can send out to those people that they can use as a resource for
Yeah,
learning some points of entry. So yeah. And like Arshia said, if you're having more questions about point to entry, message him directly and he will help you with those. So
more than happy to.
shall we talk about provs, boys?
Oh man.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, why don't we start with the big boy meet directors we have here? What was it like running provs now that it's over? Thoughts, feelings as meet directors?
I have never been more stressed in my life. I think that's the best answer.
What were some of the things that stressed you out? Because somebody that's not in your position, that has not, either meet directed a period or only meet directed like local leads, what specifically stressed you out about this meet?
There wasn't anything in specific. It was just the magnitude of all the things we had to do and had to get ready. Moving all of that equipment was like a hard awakening and hard truth as to what we had gotten ourselves into. That part was like, not even the start of provs. It was simply just the setup. But that nearly was like a breaking point. It was literally just me and Arshia. It was me and Arshia, a U-Haul, and a dream. That's what it was. And yeah, we moved all that equipment. And man,
How much weight do you think we moved together
Oh man,
in
it
kilos?
had to be like tens of thousands of kilos, I think.
Like at least
Yeah.
30,000 kilos, right?
Oh,
It had
easily.
to have been,
Easily. So, and to speak on that a little bit, because I meet directed provs a couple of years ago, myself and Pam, and we had made the decision that we were going to hire movers. It cost us about $3,000, and the part that CJ is describing is the part that they took care of. They had a moving truck, they drove to all of the gyms, they grabbed the equipment, and then they brought the equipment back to the venue, and then all the people that were there for setup helped move the equipment once it was at the venue, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Watching you guys do that, because I was at Evolve Sunridge doing my like final workout before I competed. I watched you guys move wood. Specifically, like what was the wood planks? Like what kind of wood? What
Plywood. I
Plywood.
do
Yeah.
wanna add, Max didn't just watch. Max volunteered on every day that he could have, and he
Yeah.
helped out so much, even though he was competing, even though he was coaching. So I want to give him all the credit that's due.
Yep.
Sure, he didn't have a great meet to his standards, but he helped out so much, and we're so thankful for that with the teardown, and he helped us out in the middle of his training as well.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
just throwing that out there. It's very humble.
I'll get back to that in a second, because I actually have some thoughts on that too.
Yeah.
But so some call outs to the community, I guess we could call it, but gentle call outs. But I watched you guys move those plywood boards for 45 minutes straight.
Yeah.
I have never been more exhausted watching somebody in my life. I literally I felt so like I was just watching you guys. I'm like, these guys need like a cold beverage of some kind. They probably need more caffeine. I walked over to the front desk. I bought 2 energy drinks. I brought it to you guys. Like that honestly wasn't enough. Like I don't think I've watched 2 people suffer more in my life. That was so painful
That was just the
watching.
plywood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was only the
because
plywood.
yeah, because I stopped and like I helped with teardown, and with
Yeah.
teardown, I think reached that point where people realized how much work it was, and we had people drive, and less people were working, I think was part of it too, but
Yeah.
we had people drive around the city and help you unload the truck.
Yeah.
You guys didn't have that for loading the truck. It was,
No.
as CJ said, 2 men in a dream, and it was
And I went to Edmonton the day before by myself to pick up the stuff too.
yeah.
I was like, my back was already cooked on that day.
So my advice for meet directors in this situation would be, if you can fit it into the budget, hire the movers. It's worth it.
Yeah.
My drop down advice
Yeah.
from that would be, if you can organize people for setup to meet you at the locations and help with that, that would probably also be good. But then my like gentle call out to the community is, especially with setup, I was kind of disappointed in the lack of people that showed up. Like setup for us 2 years ago was a ton. Like it was so much work to get the venue set up. Like I said, like when we had our like Provs podcast, I talked about how when I competed in the Provs that I ran, I did 26,000 steps and I was like super sore. That was with the movers and not having to get all the equipment.
Yeah.
And that was also with more people showing up to help with setup. Like, mind you, I did leave before the evening session, so maybe a lot more people did show up in the evening, but it was a little bit sad to see how few people showed up to help with setup. And obviously, like, thank yous go out to everybody that did show up and did help out. And I think Azeliel was there helping with setup, and he literally had to fly out and compete at Worlds.
Ezeal was there
So
with me in Edmonton too
yeah,
to help load
and
the
he
stuff.
was sitting in a chair reffing too. And
Yeah.
you know, you guys kind of mentioned like how much I did with competing. I don't even feel like I did that much. I feel like I did the bare minimum of what somebody should do to participate in the sport, because the reality is like these meets don't happen without a lot of volunteer power. There's not enough money in the sport for us to get the opportunity to compete, for us to get the opportunity to have these big provincial championships, for us to have all of this cool stuff that we've came to really enjoy in the sport.
Yeah.
If we don't set up and we don't like help make it happen through volunteering and showing up, like, you know, the spotters and loaders keep you safe on the platform. You got to show up and you got to like help other people by spotting and loading to keep them safe on the platform. The computer people make sure all the attempts get entered incorrectly so that you can just lift the weight and not have to think about it. You got to show up and you got to like help with the computer. It's not to say everybody has to do everything, but everybody has to do something, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so when you see people like Azeliel, who is competing at Worlds and he's sitting in the reffing chair, he's helping with setup, he's spotting and loading, he's helping you get, like you said, helping you load up the equipment in Edmonton. He's doing so much for the sport. I think there's some people in the sport that have a sense of entitlement that they just get to show up and they just get to do the thing. And yes, you can objectively because other people will do it, but I think that, you know, there's some inward looking that needs to happen for like, hey, you get to do this really cool thing that you enjoy doing because so many other people show up and volunteer so that you get to do it. You need to give back and you need to show up and volunteer so other people get to do it too. So that means showing up for setup. Like, I get it, people work and not everybody has the opportunity, but like if you can book an extra day off of work to help with setup, you kind of should, because the meet needs to get set up in order for the meet to happen, right? Um and you don't need like, I took a very like laissez-faire way to it this year of like, hey, I know in a normal training week, I do 10 to 12,000 steps on the Thursday before I do my SBD day on Saturday. I'm going to show up to setup. I'm going to do my 10 to 12,000 steps for setup, right? Um, Other people can adopt that too, right? And help out more. The day before, like I coached in the morning, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to like spot and load and still feel like fresh for competing. I volunteered to sit at the computer and to do the computer, right? Like that's not super hard to do. I do wish I brought whatchamacallit,
Earplugs?
earplugs, because it was
Yeah.
very loud and I had a little bit of a headache after.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like there's things that you can do that aren't going to affect your performance. And even though, like CJ said, I did have a bad performance, I don't blame it on my volunteering at all. I didn't feel any worse going into that meet than I did with a training day. I blame it on like my lack of preparedness and just some calls not going in my favor on the day. But I don't think it's like, oh, I fried myself helping with like setup and tear down, and well, tear down was after kind of thing. Which tear down was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was
It
actually like,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say,
I-
like that, like it was a lot of work, but I wouldn't want to do that with anyone else. Like that
Yeah.
was so much fun doing all that with CJ, and then like
Yeah.
the teardown with you guys, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to go off of what Max said, if you feel like you benefited from the sport, if powerlifting made your life better in any way, and you want to see it to continue to get better, you can easily give back by volunteering. We had, I think we had a lot of volunteers. I'm super grateful to the people that showed up and helped. I'm not sure how it was when for setup when you were there. If you're saying there was a lot more, yeah, but yeah, I usually give back by refing. I think I refed like
Yeah.
4 sessions when you hosted props.
Yeah, yeah.
4 or 5 sessions there. But
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, if you want to give back, if you want to make the sport better, I
Yeah.
think volunteering is a great way to do it.
Yeah. And there's a lot
Yeah.
of ways to give back. Like if you feel like
Yeah,
spotting and loading is going to fry you for your meet, sit at the computer.
yeah,
If you feel like you can't do setup, do tear down. If you feel like, hey, like I'm actually not doing provs this year, but I did provs last year, sign up for setup. Go help with setup. And it's like
yeah,
there a lot of things need to happen. And you are right. You guys did get a lot of like really good volunteers. And this isn't to like shame the people that showed up know that they showed up, right? But it's just to say that like
yeah,
uh, so many people go into it, right? Like
yeah,
Mhm.
so many people are needed for setup, so many people are needed for teardown, so many people are needed for spotting and loading, so many people are needed for a computer, so many positions are needed. And it is really cool to
crazy.
see people, like step up and support that way. But I definitely, especially with like Friday morning with like the spotters and loaders not like filling up that day, is really disappointing that like more people couldn't like step up and like help in that way. It's like, how
Yeah,
would you feel if you were the lifter competing in that Friday morning session and there was no spotters and loaders for you to do it? Like you start to worry, like instead of just being focused on like, oh, I get to be safe and go get to perform. I know my lifters were legitimately worried of like what happens if we don't get enough spotters and loaders? Do we not get to
yeah,
compete? And that's a very like sad situation to be in as a lifter. And I think a lot
Mhm.
of lifters have never had to be in that scenario and don't have that empathy. So I'm just bringing it up to
yeah,
give people a sense of perspective that like if you are competing or you participate in the sport and you're not competing, you should be taking a look at that like spotting and loading or sorry, that volunteer sign up sheet and you should be seeing
yeah.
what you can do.
I will say the spotting and loading, if you're not competing, is really good competition stimulus because you're
Yeah.
on the platform, you're seeing the athletes go through it. And yeah, I would say it's like one of the best things you can do to get competition
Yeah.
stimulus. You're seeing how it's loaded, seeing the referee calls. So I think even as an athlete, it's really good to spot and load.
Yes.
Mhm.
You learn a lot about the flow of the sport by doing
Yeah.
it, which is super cool. So um Yeah. So anyways, that is my rant on the volunteering stuff.
Yeah.
I just hope that people hear that and they take it to heart for next year's provs and next year's provs and next year's provs or whatever local meet comes their way next of like eh, competing in the
Yeah.
sport is kind of a privilege. There's not enough money in this sport for us to get to do it without volunteers. So in order for it to happen, volunteers we need volunteers and it's just like how, how do I put this like kindly like the same people show up to every meet to volunteer and if those people just decide they don't want to do it anymore, you don't get to compete. So do your part. Do your part. Show up and volunteer as much as you can. Obviously, like you don't have to like completely derail your life to volunteer,
Hmm.
but if you have a weekend free, like even if it messes up a training session a little bit, show up and do it.
Yeah.
Like, like yeah, take your ref exam, go sit in a
Yeah.
chair, go help with setup, like go help with
So much.
teardown, like run the computer. It's super easy. The computer
Yeah.
runs itself. You just have to like
Yeah.
type in the numbers from the person beside you. Like there is literally things that are so easy to do. There's no excuse not to do something. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, the way I think of it is like I don't know where I would be without powerlifting.
yeah,
So my way of giving back is reffing and hosting meets and
yeah,
helping out where I can with volunteering. So if you feel like
yeah.
powerlifting made your life better, give
Yeah.
back.
And I
Yeah.
feel the same, and that's probably why I do feel so compelled to volunteer so much, and meet direct and do all the things I do. But I think even if you just feel like powerlifting is a fun thing you do and hasn't changed your life in any way,
Yeah.
you should still try and show up and volunteer a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there.
Yeah.
Wow. So
You
yeah.
also get some nice swag and you get to meet cool people.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people did get Slack pull podcast shirts for volunteering, which seems like very dope
Limited.
perks, and we got very good
Yeah.
feedback on those too.
Yeah. Yeah. See, something
So
that I'm always sad about is whenever a competition rolls out, I'm never able to volunteer because I'm always handling. So I never get meat shirts. But yeah.
yeah, yeah, which
Yeah.
is
Well,
tough, obviously. Like you're giving
yeah.
back to the sport via coaching and showing up for your athletes and whatnot. But
Yeah.
what I will say is like as a coach that runs into that issue pretty frequently, I'm constantly putting out to my athletes that I would like to see them volunteer. That's something that
Yeah.
coaches can also do as well. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think our roster does that quite well. I was happy to see our
I
our
agree.
team
There was a
Yeah.
lot of
volunteer and be there.
yeah, there was
Hmm.
a lot of North Rise representation for sure. So
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so very
I
cool.
personally thought,
Yeah.
I personally thought we had a good number of volunteers, and I was surprised that we got as many volunteers as we did. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I opened up the garage door. I'm like, oh shit, people showed up to help. That's crazy. Thank you.
yeah,
I thought it was me
Yeah.
and CJ. I thought we were done. We're gonna be here till 2 a.m. I can't believe all these people
Yeah.
showed
Well,
up.
what's
Thank
tough
you.
about that is like I'm coming from the perspective of like I feel like we had more volunteers when I ran it 2 years ago
Yeah.
with Pam,
Mhm.
and I still felt like frustrated that we didn't have enough volunteers. Like when I did that
Yeah.
26,000 step day, like the day before I competed, because like we didn't have enough people for setup, and the people that were showing up are like, oh, I don't want to move weights or whatever because I compete. It's like, well, we all just move a couple weights. It doesn't affect us as much, but I guess I'll move all of the weights and destroy my competition, right? So coming from that perspective and then
Yeah.
seeing like less volunteers this year, like you guys are absolute troopers to handle as much as you
Thanks.
guys
I didn't
handle.
know
So,
that. I
yeah.
thought that was normal. But
Yeah.
Which I mean, I don't know how many people helped out in Edmonton like last year. I don't know how many
Oh yeah.
people helped out the year before. Like I'm only going off of the perspective of like
Yeah.
the year that I ran it, right?
Yeah, and
Mhm.
that's fair.
And I do think that there's just like a general consensus that like even if like my year was like a year where we had like a lot of volunteers, it still felt like we could have more. Like there's never enough people for setup and teardown. The more people show up, it's kind of like the old saying that many hands make for light work kind of thing. It's like you can never have enough people for setup and teardown. And if somebody's like questioning like what they do for volunteering, setup and teardown is
that's a big
just
one
the
actually.
easy answer. Yeah.
And it just makes the sport better. Like we can put money into prizes and things like that instead of having to rent more venue time or hire movers and things like that.
Yeah, having to clear everything out before 10 p.m.
Yeah, that was insane.
About to crash out.
We got some good videos of the.
We still have equipment we need to give back, by the way. It's not done.
Oh my, that's crazy. A week later.
Yeah, CJ still needs to go to Edmonton. I'm just kidding. We're both going.
Yeah.
I guess something you brought up too with the meat t-shirts and the slack pull t-shirts probably brings up a little bit of a segue here of at some point in time, I'm not sure where we're at with this, we are going to start to sell the slack pull t-shirts on the website. And we have agreed that all of our proceeds from those will go directly into sponsoring meets and helping meets be better. So if you want to help support the sport of powerlifting, if you want to help support local meets and Canadian regional meets and nationals and stuff like that, buying a t-shirt will help us, help us support those meets kind of thing. So
100%.
They're pretty cool.
Proceeds will go to supporting powerlifting.
They're pretty cool. If you're a fan of the podcast, we have the first 6 episodes and the dates that they dropped on the back. And I'm a little biased because I came up with the design.
I really liked it.
They look awesome. Yeah, I have gotten so many compliments on that shirt.
Yeah, we got a lot of positive feedback.
Maybe we'll redrop it. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Maybe we'll come up with new designs. We'll see what happens.
New ones. Yeah, make a whole collection.
So I guess with that said, we also got really positive feedback on the Provs podcast itself and the fact that we outlined battles. I would like to start with, I did get a comment from someone saying that we missed a pretty major battle, which we apologize for. We couldn't get to everything, but I did look at it, and I will say that there was a pretty decent one that we ended up missing. So the battle of the 120 open men, there was a pretty tight battle there. We did not talk about. So sorry to the 120 open men, and congratulations to the winner, Zach, of that class. I think Zach, Rory, and Todd all had a pretty big fight for that podium. So it was a good day for them, and we did not mention that prior to. On top of that, I think some of my predictions were on point, unfortunately to my own fault in the 83 kilo class. I had said that I thought Jaden was the favorite. He ended up coming out on top. And Connor, I thought was, kind of a shoo-in, even though he was injured. He ended up placing in second. And then myself and Nick were nominated in that top 3 kind of top 3, top 4 spots. And I had said that if either of us had started to miss, or anybody in that top 3, top 4 started to miss, Kumu could sneak into the top 3. So myself and Nick both started to miss, and Kumu did indeed sneak into the top 3 with a beautiful 8 for 9 day, the best day he's put forth. And I'm friends with Ku, so I love him, and I was really proud to see the day he had. It was a phenomenal day for him. Nick ended up placing in the 4th place spot, and then my brother placed in 5th ahead of me at 6th with Thomas actually coming in at 7th, which is pretty cool. The all strength systems fell off the podium, but we had a pretty nice lineup of all of us in a row after the podium.
I will say, I think Nick had a pretty good day, did he not? He only missed one lift from what I like. Didn't he go 8 for 9?
Yeah, I think he had a decent day from what I was speaking
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah, his total went down by 7.5 kilos, but that's
Oh, did it?
obviously
Okay.
much less than mine went down with 17.5 kilos. So
Okay.
I think once
Yeah.
he realized the podium wasn't in the cards for him, he focused on beating myself and Brandon, and he ended up willing to do that. So
Fair
as
enough.
far as
Yeah.
competition goes, he was definitely had a good competitive day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'm 8 for 9's not horrible, but yeah.
I believe Brandon also went 8 for 9. Had the biggest squat on the day, squatting 270 kilos, just short of 600 pounds.
Oh wow.
And then he only missed his third bench, which we've kind of coined the Hall brother curse of missing our third benches. And then he went 3 for 3 on deadlifts and just did what he needed to do to try to force Nick while also pulling over me. And my goal was to pull over him and to try to force Nick to pull. I missed my third pull on a close call. Nick is able to load just what he needs to beat Brandon and able to come out on top of the competition on the day.
So I have a question. How are you guys like in the warm-up room? Did you guys warm up together, or what is that like for you as brothers?
Not really. I kind of just kept to myself. I was kind of hanging out with like Connor a little bit because we're pretty close friends, and just kind of letting Danny dictate what I needed to do. Just kind of hanging out to myself. He did come borrow my band, and it was like friendly between us or whatever. It wasn't like heated or anything like that. But there was a certain warm up platform that I don't think loved me after some of my predictions from the podcast.
Okay.
Getting some mean looks from on the day.
So who handled him? Your brother?
I don't know if he handled himself.
Okay. Very nonchalant.
Yeah, he didn't even really like prep into this meet and beat me, which makes my sting of defeat even worse. I don't think he could have handled things any more nonchalantly than he did. I think Jenny, who was handling Tom, kind of helped handle him, but it seemed like he was handling himself.
Very interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, well
no,
done.
It's not. Don't say it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about you guys? Did you guys? I know you guys were very busy, both coaching and like and meet directing, which was a lot of work. But did you guys have any like highlights as far as like classes or competitions or anything as far as like predictions that came true or like anything you guys wanted to outline as far as the competition itself?
Yeah, I think the for me, day 3 was really cool. The bench session. We had Mike, Sepper, and Trenton. They had the biggest benches of that whole flight. They were all Northrise athletes and all benched over 400 pounds, which was sweet. Sepper benched 183 kilos as a sub-junior, which is massive. And this was only a second meet.
Yeah, it is an absolute monster.
And that was his second time competing in profs because he did 3 lift, benched 182, and then we benched 183 at bench world at bench only. So that was really cool to see him do that. Very proud of that. And then same with Marcus. Marcus did really well just to turn it around after last year. We didn't have the greatest meet, but he just put in so much work, and really, really proud of that kid. And hit a massive PB. So
yeah. My athletes, Kazuki, huge total PR. Yeah, he had a great day. We kind of YOLO'd that third deadlift. I definitely wouldn't have gone to 225, but I was like, we already hit a meet PR. We did great, and you know what? I'm gonna let him have it. There was a chance it could have gone, but yeah. And then had my other athlete Ruben, huge PR as well. Just narrowly missed the pull for first by a little bit of an up and down on the final deadlift, but still very excellent day. Moved great. Everything moved well. And yeah, really huge PR. My other athlete, Adam, first place. Yeah, huge meet PR as well. Everything went pretty solid. And we tried to take a crack at best junior lifter by loading 325 on the deadlift. And that was just a bit too heavy, but it was worth a shot. And then, yeah, Michael, I took him on like 6 weeks out just to help with his peak. And he did decently, but obviously not the greatest day. He showed out of the platform with like first attempt. He wasn't wearing his deadlift socks, which was pretty dumb, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I think my favorite part of the meet was actually day 3. Me and Mo, our other meet director, were helping out Jared. He's a para bencher, and me and Mo were trying to get this para bench all set up onto the Alico bench. And during that phase, the bench actually fell apart. So that was the most stressed I've ever been, because Jared had a terrible experience at nationals where the para bench actually didn't come in on time, I believe. So it was a pretty bad experience for him at Nats, but we were able to get that thing fixed, get it bolted on, and thankfully he had a great meet. He went 3 for 3, and yeah, he had an awesome time, and that single-handedly like made everything worth it. All the stress, it felt like that was like the best part of the meet for me. And yeah, I was just super happy to see him compete, super happy to have him have the opportunity to compete and have a great time. Yeah, that was definitely the highlight for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. And your athlete, Safir, did I say that right?
Sapir? Yeah.
Safir, yeah. Promising young man. I was running the computer while he was doing his full power meet, and absolutely crazy day. And he's got a very, very bright future ahead of him as a sub junior. So excited to see what he does.
Thank you.
On the side of my athletes, my client Teresa, she went 8 for 9, only missing her second bench, and then she went out for it again on her third and made it look like an opener. At which point, if I had a clipboard, I would have broken it over my knee, because I was like, where the heck was that on your second? But she ended up breaking the provincial squat, deadlift, and total records, which was super cool for her. Curtis, despite some of his hip pain, we were able to kind of figure out that we could have a productive meet, and that was awesome. So even though it wasn't like a crazy PR day for him, just the fact we were able to navigate the pain going into this prep as well as we did was a massive win. And then on day 2, Wes had a good day while he was competing in the 83s in the flight before me, so I couldn't watch a lot of it, unfortunately, but decent day for him. Hit a squat PR. Brett, my 6 for 9 king, every time we go into our handling calls, I'm always like, do you want to go 9 for 9 and maximize the total, or do you want to go for PRs? And he's like, let's test the limit. So it usually results about how you would expect it to result. However, because we're consistent in doing that, he always PRs all 3 lifts on his second attempts going into the third. So he still had a really good day, and he was very happy with his day, and I was very happy with his day. And despite having some like hip pain that held back his squat a little bit, I think we still maybe came away with a squat PR, just short of a squat PR. we hit a massive bench PR and we hit a deadlift PR. So it was a good day for him. And then my bench queen Janal, Jin, she had a good day on bench as well. 72.5 kilos, wasn't quite there, but we took a shot at it and we feel like we are very, very close. Within a block or two, that should be a weight that she can absolutely smoke. So her bench is on a good track and very promising, and it was a good day for the athletes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else, provs, you guys want to chat about?
I think it all went pretty smoothly. Despite all the stress, everything got done. Everything, yeah, I've heard lots of great feedback for the actual meet itself. So that was always good to hear.
Thought of a few things. Live stream looked really nice. Shout out to Bray and Clean Strength Media for the live stream. Looked good. I pulled my videos off of there. Very clean live stream, and then also had some nice graphics on it, compliments of Arena Powerlifting, and it was super cool that Adam and his developer, I feel so bad, I forget his name, the two of them were there with Arena Powerlifting, help work out the bugs as they ran it. This was their first meet kind of testing out the software, and I think that it probably would have been a nightmare if they weren't there fixing things, but at the same time, because they were, it was a very cool system. It has a lot of really awesome things to it. It's definitely something I plan on using in the future as a meet director. But it was nice that they were there. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Arena was like a really cool system. And yeah, APU Provs was the test pilot for it. And
What a
everything
meet
went
to
pretty
pilot
well.
in
I know,
that.
right? Massive meet.
Stress test it with 6 sessions in a row. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. So, but all went well. They were there, live. So, whenever there was bugs, they went, above and beyond to make sure those got fixed and everything. So, yeah, but very promising software. I really do like it. And I think it's going to rival Lifting Cast and Simply Meet pretty well. So I'm excited for it.
Kind of had the best of both worlds worked in, which was cool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Arshia.
Yeah, I really liked the Arena PL. It was cool. The features are nice. A lot of cool stuff that some of the other softwares don't have, which was nice. I like the layout on it. I really like how they integrated it into the live stream. I think that's one of the biggest things powerlifting is missing. It's like you almost need two screens. You got to see the screen where all the numbers are, and then you got to watch the actual lifting. But I really like how they had it all on one screen, and you can see the people jockey for positions and things like that. So I would like to see IPF almost like I would like to see them do that. So it was really cool that we were doing that at a provincial level, and I think we set the bar really high there.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Any feedback for us as meet directors, Max?
Feedback as meet directors. Jeez.
Or how things ran.
Hiring movers to save your backs.
Oh,
yeah. I think like without getting into like the economy too much,
yeah,
it's just like not in the budget really. Just with the price of like food alone, we spent so much money on just food, and it wasn't even anything crazy. Like it was, it didn't suck. It was good, but just like the way that grocery prices are going nowadays and things like that, it's just like, it's just, you almost have to go into your own pocket to do it.
Yeah. Food is always tough. Like I know anytime I've meet directed, I try to kind of like spoil my volunteers with like the best food I can get them. I know that that's well appreciated, especially by Danny. Shout out Danny Lee. I know some like with big meets like this, it's hard because like you mentioned, you're feeding so many people, which is really, really tough. I think the sandwiches were fine. I'm a super picky eater, and I know that I don't like sandwiches. So for me, it was just as simple as like I brought my own cooler with food and I warmed it up. I guess that brings up the microwave story, which I don't think was anything you guys did wrong or any feedback. Like I think it was mentioned by maybe it was Mo or one of the two of you guys that getting a microwave was on your guys' list and it just got forgotten in, as CJ mentioned, just the mountain of things that you have to think of when you're planning a meet like this and when you're doing a meet like this. So I went out and got a microwave. It was kind of funny because I was getting some like positive feedback of like, oh my goodness, like so many people are praising you for bringing the microwave, Max. I'm like, please praise the meet directors. Like bringing a microwave is the least I could do. Like I get it, it's not like us, like it's a little bit above and beyond what most people do, but it was out of pure selfishness that I brought food I needed to microwave, and there had to be a microwave there, so I just went and bought one. Like I wasn't doing it to be some savior or anything like that. It was just like I need a microwave because I'm a super picky eater and I brought microwave. But yeah, like I think I told Mo, I'm like, please make sure that like the microwave makes it into the like meet director locker so that every meet director has access to a microwave for free for future meets kind of thing. So yeah, like small things like that, but I think you guys in general did a really, really good job. I will say that I liked your guys's we use the same venue. So anybody listening to this that was not at Provs, this is going to make no sense to, but like when I ran Provs, I ran it at the Garrison, and when these guys ran Provs, they ran it at the Garrison. And we ran it in kind of like a horizontal fashion, and they ran it in more of a vertical fashion. And I liked your guys's like setup in the vertical fashion a lot more. I think it came out way better. I like the use of the tents. I will say that, and again, like I don't know the behind the scenes of the finances and what that kind of looked like, but when we ran it, we rented the like upstairs portion, kind of like looking out. And I will say that like I didn't love that for when we ran it because you couldn't see one platform really well, but I do really wish that you guys had rented that top portion the way that you guys had your layout because it would have been such a good place to like overlook onto the meet. And watch it. Yeah. But you know, small things, and I think they're more like lifestyle things than they are like
for sure
negotiables. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Cool.
All
think we touched on everything unless there's anything else you guys can think of.
No, I think that's it for this episode.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. We have been the Slack Pull Podcast. I have been Max. CJ, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at CJ_THAKURI. Arshia.
And you can find me on Instagram also, RSHADY__. And you can also find more information about both of us, me and CJ, on northrise.ca.
Yes. You guys can find me on Instagram at Max Hall Fitness. You guys can also follow the podcast on Instagram, Slack Pull Podcast. We've recently had a reel go fairly viral. So if you are a new viewer that has continued listening to the last two episodes from that, thank you for listening and thank you for making it to the end. If you have enjoyed this podcast and you enjoy the podcast in general, you guys can do us two huge favors if you see fit. One, you guys can leave us a rating on whatever platform you are listening on. And two, you can share this with one friend that you think would get value out of it. Until next time, guys, peace.
Peace.